Hello and welcome to the first episode of whatever this is. My name is Emily. I'm 23 years old. I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri in the US, and I moved to Germany in March of 2021 and have been living here ever since. My goal is to share my story and to be extremely genuine about my experiences and maybe motivate somebody else who wants to do the same thing that I did. The blog is titled Adventures of Emily Abroad because my name is Emily and I have adventures abroad. This video is going to be like a little introduction and give you an idea of who I am, what the content I'm going to be posting is. If you're interested, stick around, subscribe, like, share, comment, whatever. If not, no harm done. This is just for fun. My life is complicated, but pretty good. I'm really happy with my decision and the way things have turned out. It's been a very, very difficult 2 years and a lot has happened, but I'm really happy to be able to finally share my story, to feel comfortable enough sharing my story, and to give you all an insight as to what moving abroad looks like from a real, genuine perspective, not some Instagram influencer who's going to make everything look perfect. This is the real nitty-gritty of how it actually is. Let's just dive right in. I kind of knew from a very young age that I was not meant to live in the United States for my entire life. I never felt at home. I never felt like I belonged. I always felt like there was something more waiting. I didn't know what, I didn't know when, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. But I just knew everything that I was working for and towards in the US, college, all of that stuff wasn't really for anything. I didn't think anything was going to come from it. It really didn't. None of it really matters now. I met a German exchange student when I was 16. All of that previously from when I was younger came to the forefront when I was 16 and I met this exchange student. I was put under a spell. This exchange student changed my life in ways that I don't think she could have ever imagined. Once I met her and found out about her life and the city that she lived in, which is now only 2 hours away from me, mind-boggling considering it used to be a 12-hour flight away, I became obsessed. I started looking into the city that she lived in. I started looking into German music. I started teaching myself the language on Duolingo. Pro tip, do not use Duolingo. It is bad. Rosetta Stone is a lot better. I'm not sponsored. Maybe one day. As time goes on, I, think about it. It's always in my mind. It's always something that I'm thinking about, secretly thinking it's gonna happen someday. I don't know how, I don't know when, but it's gonna happen. I always got distracted by it and had to focus on reality, college, work, that kind of thing. A multitude of people in my life were like, listen, you gotta focus on reality. You gotta focus on the real world, college, work, getting good grades, the things that are important. This whole Germany thing, it's not important. It's not going to pan out unless a miracle happens. It's just not. Throughout the years, it was always in my mind, but it was always at the back of my mind. It hurt a lot, but the thought never 100% left my mind. March of 2020, the pandemic hits, everybody goes crazy. We're all watching Tiger King and buying boatloads of toilet paper, freaking out. We all had way too much time on our hands. People were going nuts. Since I didn't have to worry about school, since I didn't have to worry about working because literally everything was closed, I had time to think. This is when things really started to take off. I remember the date very vividly. This is what made all of this happen. April 22nd, 2020. I make a Facebook post. A friend commented and said, hey, I actually know somebody who lives in Germany. She's from St. Louis and lives there now permanently. You should get into contact with her. And I am like, what did she do? How did she do this? How can I do it? So long story short, I get into contact with this girl who was an au pair. I match up with her former host family. I go live with them for a year. I'm an au pair, and being an au pair, you're essentially an overseas nanny for a really rich family who, in most cases, overuses, overworks, and exploits you for cheap childcare. They only pay you 350 euros, which is pretty much $350 a month. That's the catch. The catch is all of that. The positives are you get to live in a foreign country. They give you a place to live. In most cases, it's a room in their house. I was lucky enough to have an apartment because my family was extremely wealthy, the family that hosted me. They pay for your food. In my case, I had a car to use. The only catch is you get paid 350 euros/dollars a month. You work On the contract, it only states 30 hours, but in most cases, the family overuses you and exploits you because you don't really have a choice in the matter. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. It depends on the family, it depends on the relationship, and it depends on if they truly treat you as an au pair or if they treat you as a live-in nanny slash cleaner slash everything else. I'm an au pair for a year, a little over a year, and it was single-handedly the worst year of my life. Mentally, physically, all of the above. Worst year of my life. Throughout this year, I meet my boyfriend. The only reason that I made it through my au pair year, and is the only reason I am still living in this country today. He gets me through this year. He gets me through the awful experiences of what I went through, and we only had 48 hours together a week. We made it work for an entire year. We're still together to this day. So I'm an au pair from March of 2021 until May of 2022. I had planned to stay with this host family until September of 2022 before I started doing what I do now, which I'll get into a little bit later. I had a family member get sick. It was pretty serious. I mean, this man was airlifted. We didn't know if he was going to make it or not. I needed to be home for my family, for my mom. I have a single mom and I'm the oldest child. I had never considered going home before this. This was the one time I knew that I needed to go home for at least 2 weeks. So I let my family know. And in this contract, I am allowed to take 2 weeks of vacation whenever I choose, as long as I give the family notice. There's no problems with doing that. I give the family the proper notice and I let them know the reasoning. Their response was, "Can you go home when we have holiday in 2 months from now?" In the contract, I'm technically allowed to take vacation whenever I choose to, but in my situation, you only get vacation when the family goes on vacation. You're never invited to go with the family. You only go on vacation when they're also on vacation so they don't have to find somebody to watch their kid. So that was my situation. My host family was not happy with me. Their only concern was, who is going to watch our kid while you're gone? They essentially told me, if you don't wait to go home until we also have vacation, we are gonna find somebody to replace you. Just don't come back, don't bother. And at that moment, I realized, okay, this is done. That shows how much they respected me, working sometimes 60-hour weeks, only worried about who's gonna take care of their kid. And I decided that this just was not gonna work anymore. It just wasn't. I left. I pack all of my things up on the last day of April, bring them all here to where I currently live. I get on a plane May 1st. I spend the month of May at home. My visa as an au pair is done. I have no visa to get back into Germany. But as an American, you can have 90 days in Germany without a visa. The catch is you can't work, you can't have any form of income. I had planned this before I left. I realized, okay, I'm leaving in May. My next job starts in September. I have to plan this extremely carefully. So I go home for the month of May, spend the month of May at home with my family. I come back at the beginning of June. And the reason I came back at the beginning of June was because me and my boyfriend had already booked flights to go home to the US to visit my family for the entire month of August. So that's what I do. I go home for the month of May, spend the month of May at home, and I get on a plane at the beginning of June. I come back. I stayed in Germany until August with no visa, just my passport, which was completely legal and fine. I just couldn't work or have any form of income, which sucked. But during this time, I wasn't with my au pair family and I was living with my boyfriend and his family. And so I had the time to work on my visa for my next job and get everything sorted. Getting a visa is a long process and it takes months. So it was a good thing that I couldn't work at the time. It was bad because I couldn't have an income, but it was great because I had all the time in the world to work on this visa and I needed all of the time in the world to work on this visa. Me and my boyfriend get on a plane in August. We fly to the US. We spend the month of August with my family and it was amazing. We did touristy stuff. It was great. And then we got on a plane and we come back to Germany. Now the difference between coming back when I did the first time in June and when we came back together the last time at the end of August was when I left in May, I knew when I would be coming back. I could hug my mom and say, okay, I'll see you in about 2 months. Getting back on the plane the last time I did at the end of August, I had to look my mom in the face and not know when I would be going home. I still don't know the next time I'll be home. And that's hard. It's really hard. It's something that I didn't expect to be as hard as it is. So that was that. Get on a plane, we land September 1st. I start working 2 weeks later. This ties into what I'm doing now. What I'm doing now is called an FSJ. It's basically like a voluntary year. For me, I work in a school. I do whatever they need me to do. I help with English. I work with a group of Ukrainian refugee children who are amazing. There's a big language barrier because I don't speak Russian, unfortunately, but we make it work. I have met so many friends. I have met some amazing people. I'm pretty happy. The only downside is I only make $350 a month. With the visa that I have, I'm not allowed to do an extra job, because trust me, I would. I'll tell you the same answer that the foreigner's office told me. You are not allowed to work outside of what the visa says that you can do. I can't have any additional income from working a job at all, but I've mastered the art of making it work. I will do this for a year until September of 2023, and then I will start actual job training. Kind of like vocational school, like that you go to be a carpenter or electrician or whatever. I am going to do for like international marketing and business. I'll get money for working and going to school at the same time, which is awesome. But my biggest dream would be to go back to school. And I would love to go back to university, to college. As a foreigner without a permanent residence permit costs 10,000 euros or dollars. I have to have that much in a spare account or a savings account just because the foreigner's office says so. You have to prove that you can afford your living expenses. And I've explained to them, I have made it work with $350/euros a month for 2 years now. I will be fine because the tuition is only 500 euros/dollars a semester. So easily affordable, but it's the whole rule of having to have this 10,000 in a savings account. And so college for me, unfortunately, isn't an option right now. I'll do this job training and I'll get a permanent residence permit after I'm finished with that, which is super exciting. Finally, I won't have to be going to the foreigner's office or the Ausländerbehörde to work on these visas. Finally. After that, then I'll be able to go back to school. By that time, I'll be 27. We'll just have to see what happened. That's pretty much the summary of everything. So if you stuck through for the whole thing, thanks. It means a lot. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments. If you want to see specific content, let me know. Send me a message. I have a link tree that has a place where you can send me comments. Just let me know. And it makes me happy that you're here. And it makes me happy that I can finally share my story. I will have another set of videos about my au pair experience specifically because, like I said, it was the worst year of my life and it was pretty traumatizing. I need a lot of time to go into detail about that. I'm not gonna just make some super short videos on that. I want to be genuine and I want to be true and I want to tell you everything that I have been hiding for the last 2 years of my life. So if you want to see that, stick around. We'll just continue to see where this goes. Give me suggestions for content, for things you want to see, places you want to see about where I live, or, just let me know. And thanks for sticking around. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure you subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell to be notified about new content.